Hello everyone, my name is Gavin.vanmoer, Catholic author and speaker from Southwest Minnesota. Excited to continue talking about my new book, Shine Through the Darkness, Reigniting Christ's Light in Your Life. Now if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share with others. And if you would like to purchase a copy of my book, I will have links in the description below at bookbaby.com, Barnes & Noble, as well as Amazon. Now last week we talked about what exactly is darkness. And the big answer was darkness isn't a thing, it's the absence of something. And specifically, it's the absence of light. And talking about this book, the darkness in our lives and in our world, it's the absence of God. That is why we have so much darkness. But how do we identify ourselves as descending into the darkness? Or how can we prevent ourselves from getting into the darkness? Now, the idea about it isn't that, we don't flip a switch and boom, we're now deep into the darkness. And actually, it's much worse. It's a gradual descent into it. The best way to think about it is, it's like sinking. If you're floating on top of the water, you can see the light. You are comfortable. But as soon as you get submerged and start lowering yourself, it gets darker and darker and darker the lower you get. And eventually, there's no light possible. And that's the idea. Everything that is negative, it starts slowly. The darkness slowly creeps into it. It slowly starts to push God farther and farther away. Because remember, being in the darkness doesn't mean that God is absent. It means that we've chosen to be farther away from God. And that process starts slowly. Maybe we start cursing a little bit more. Maybe we decide that, I'm going to skip a diet one day a week. Or I'm not going to do a prayer on certain days of the week. Maybe we start accelerating it. Maybe we start skipping Mass once a month. Because, we start doing other projects throughout the week. We really just need that extra hour on Sunday to make sure that we can actually recover for the week. How else can we start snowballing into this deeper darkness? These little habits start to create a bigger wedge in between us and God. It keeps separating us even farther and farther. And that's how we start sinking even farther. When I was starting to prepare for this video, I started thinking of the video of Finding Nemo. And one of the most encouraging, as a kid, scenes was, when Dory just says, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Well, a lot of times we can do that as Christians, and even as people that aren't in the Christian faith. As the world starts to go murky around us and starts getting a little hectic and chaotic, we just tell ourselves, just keep swimming, just keep doing it. But we have to identify that if something is broken, if something is becoming a problem, we can't just continue with the same old habits, the same old routine. We have to understand that something has to change. Now, this last week's gospel, we were listening to the story of when Christ walked on water. And it's a miraculous gospel. It's an incredible miracle when you start to think about it. And it fits in perfectly with this discussion and this topic. So to set up the scene, we see the apostles are out on the Sea of Galilee, and the storm is rising and rising. The winds are heavy, and they start seeing Christ. And originally they are absolutely freaked out. Okay, they think he's a ghost. They think it's some other, creature. But as soon as they identify that as Christ, he calls out to them, "Why are you afraid?" And Peter, being the leader of the 12, yells out to him, "Lord, if you can command me to come out there, I will." And what does Christ say? Come. And Peter, being the leader, he takes that first step and he starts plunging out into the water. He himself is out there, standing on the water, being the leader for his community. But what happens? As soon as fear starts to rock, as soon as the wind starts to pile up, he begins to sink. And that's the big thing we want to understand, is that we are all vulnerable to this. It doesn't matter if you are unbaptized, it doesn't matter if you are a lay person that goes to church every Sunday, you do your best, you receive the sacraments. It doesn't matter if you're a priest. It doesn't even matter if you're the Pope. Every single one of us is vulnerable to the deception and the manipulation that the devil and his demons can do to draw us farther and farther away from God. As soon as we allow that fear to creep into our lives, we can begin to sink, just like Peter. As he began to sink, all he could start thinking was, "Lord, help." And that's what we got to do. As soon as we start to find ourselves falling into the darkness, we can't just, nope, just keep swimming. Just keep allowing it to go away. As soon as we cover our eyes and decide that, We're just going to allow this to go. I'm sure it'll get better later. Well, later doesn't happen unless you decide it's going to happen. You have to decide today that I got to change my ways. I got to stop being this negative force in my life. I have to stop making bad decisions that keep pulling me farther from God. Today I have to make the choice to call out to God. And that's the biggest thing. We can't save ourselves. None of us can. Even the holiest men on earth cannot save themselves. We have to be willing to call out to God. Because through God is the only way that we can be saved. Through Christ is the only way that we can be pulled out from the depths of the darkness and start shining a light through it. Now, this could be through our communities, this could be through our friends, our families, and it's going to be through His church. And as we start going through these steps on how to truly encourage and influence ourselves into having more of Christ's light in us to shine out to others, it has to start with the first decision that today I am going to stop sinning. Today I'm going to stop whatever it is that is wedging me between God and myself. Today's got to be the day that we reach out to God and say, I need your help because I cannot do this alone. And as we get on our journeys, no matter where we're at, whether we have never been baptized, if we haven't gotten a confession in 4 or 5 years, whatever it is that we are seeking and how we can get there, we have to remember as we get along this journey not to be boastful. As we start to overcome some of our sins, maybe we've gone a week without a drink. Maybe we've gone a month without saying a curse word. Don't slip back by saying, look at what I did. Because you weren't the one that pulled yourself out. It was Christ. Christ through His church, Christ through His followers, His community, through the body of His church. That is what helped pull you out. Show grace and show thanksgiving to God. Thank you to everyone for watching. May the Lord defend you in battle and be the lamp upon your feet. God bless.